So this is the river mouth or entrance of the Santa Cruz Harbor. As you can see right here, all of the water is receding out of the Santa Cruz Harbor. It's going back out into the bay, so another tsunami surge is about to occur. Use this thing right here. Sorry, I got this. 1 second. As you can see, the water is still receding. So another tsunami surge is about to occur. Right here you can see how this got twisted up from the surge earlier today.
And it'll start twisting up again.
I'm on Facebook Live. Since you're an expert, would you like to come over here and talk and say what's going on?
Yeah, sure.
There's 5 people watching right now. So go
hi
ahead and
everyone.
Could you say your background, your schooling, and maybe your name?
Yeah, hi, my name's Sophia Denton. I have attended Cabrillo College. I'm also a current student at CSUMB studying marine science. And right now it is 1:08 p.m. in Santa Cruz, California. We're here at the Twin Lakes Harbor.
Go ahead and keep talking.
And there is a tsunami, and you can see the devastating effects of it right now. We are witnessing the tide surging outward. And as you can see, there's some boats out in the distance right over there. And if you look just behind the barge, you can see one boat sitting right on the sand.
If you look in the screen, sometimes you can point and you can do this.
Yeah. Right there.
Very
you can
interesting.
see him.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he's right on the sand. And earlier this morning, there was approximately at 8:30 a.m., there was a large tidal surge that pushed outward and then inward into the harbor. And that caused the upper harbor, which is located towards the back, behind the bridge. There was a surge that pushed into the back, and it caused all of the boats that were sitting in the storage yard on trailers to start floating. There were also cars underwater in the parking lot. There was one Mini Cooper that was completely under, and another truck that was basically totaled underwater. There is also some damage located on the H dock, which I believe is located right over there. Part of the dock actually got sucked into the bay, and there was also one sailboat that I know so far that was sunk underneath the water. Do you mind if I move the camera?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you look over this way, we can also see the tide slightly moving in. It's still dropping, but there's obviously surges. Over here, on the outer part of the harbor mouth, there was a whirlpool that formed at approximately 7:30 a.m. this morning. There was a lot of wave action going on. Many boats actually fled the harbor, trying to escape any type of surge, and they sat on the horizon near the mile buoy. Although they were sitting so far, some boats were unfortunately rocked really violently back and forth, and it was pretty devastating. Compared to the 2011 tsunami, there was definitely not as much damage, but definitely the element of danger was still there. Beach Street over on the west side, which is located more over that way, actually flooded earlier this morning at approximately 9 o'clock, and they actually had to close down Beach Street. Capitola, which is located this way down the coast, south.
Sorry to interrupt you, but the Coast Guards are pointing at this thing twisted up that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, we see this pipe right here get twisted up. There's actually a little black thing right here. It's like a net. It looks almost like a sock. that right there actually was twisted up when the surge came in and moved the dredge. This is actually a new dredge. There was an old one in 2011 that experienced some similar patterns when it was affected by the tidal surges. However, this one is supposed to be upgraded. I'm not sure about that, but this dredge right here is getting twisted up once again. We have a barge currently working to move the anchors in different areas to try to straighten this pipeline. And the dredge is very important. This harbor actually used to be a lake, which is why this place is called Twin Lakes. And so Schwan Lagoon, located this way, is actually one of the Twin Lakes. However, this was converted to a harbor, which is why we need this dredge to suck out sediment from the back. And as the tide surges outwards, the sediment from the back actually pushes forward and can actually clog or damage the harbor and possibly cause this dredge to sit on the bottom eventually.
Is that why they're doing it right now, even though we're in the middle of a tsunami? They're still continuing to dredge?
Yeah, they have to dredge.
Because it's that important?
Absolutely. It is really important that they keep this alleyway, as I call it, clear, so that way Harbor Patrol can get through, Coast Guard can go and help people. I've seen the jet ski leave the harbor multiple times to save people. In the San Lorenzo River mouth, there was one person that unfortunately was swept out. I'm not sure on their whereabouts right now or if they're okay. There was also another rescue in Capitola where someone was unfortunately also swept out. I really have faith in the Coast Guard and the jet ski crew that was out in Capitola in the river mouth, and we are so thankful for all of their help. Currently, we can actually see, if I turn the camera this way, we can see the barge shifting this anchor backwards, straightening out this pipeline, and just trying to mitigate the damage that could potentially happen if we let this go too long. So, as you can see, he's just pulling out this little dredge right here.
There's a sea otter right there too.
Yeah, there's a little sea otter. Actually, sea lion. Yes, right there. There he is.
Okay.
Woohoo! Yeah, the sea critters really seem to be having a field day today, but it's a bad day to be a boat. It really is a bad day to be a boat. But, you know, compared to 2011, obviously we saw a lot of devastating damage back then. The surge.
Like where you were and what happened?
Oh yeah. In 2011? In 2011, I was actually 10 years old, but I remember it very well. I was coming from after school back to my house. I live very close to the ocean, so I had to cross the police line to get home. And as soon as I crossed the police line, I came down to investigate what was going on. And as I did, I witnessed a tidal surge that was, I'd say, about 3 times as strong as the one I witnessed earlier. It actually rose all of these docks, which actually contain equipment, millions of dollars worth, that aerate the water for anchovies and smaller fish during breeding seasons. And it damaged those docks. The surge allowed the docks to rise so quickly that they broke, and a lot of boats unfortunately sank and experienced a lot of damage. There were millions of dollars of repairs in order. And if we do look here, we can actually see they actually straightened out, back to this, excuse me, they straightened out the pipeline, and you can see there's some sand showing right there.
See that? So it's kind of low, the level?
Yeah, it's very low. This is not as low as I've seen it.
And that boat's not on the sand anymore? So
yeah, there's that boat over there. That's really my gauge back there. There's that sailboat, if you can see behind, right there. There's a boat right there.
That boat was on the sand 7 minutes ago?
That boat was completely on the sand. It's in about a foot of water right now.
Okay.
And actually, if we take a look at the water, we can see there's a little hump of water right there. And we can actually indicate right now with the way that the water's moving that the tide should be coming in within the next few minutes. And as you can see, there are little humps in between each wave. And as those humps become more periodic, as you can see, there's a wave breaking in here right now, the tide will surge, push up even more, and it drastically fills the harbor. And that is where a lot of the damage occurs. It's really unfortunate when the tide moves so quickly that it pushes up and causes a lot of damage to the surrounding docks, to the boats. I can't imagine what the people in Tonga, in all of Micronesia, in Australia, in New Zealand, I can't imagine what they're going through right now. But this is what 1,300 miles away looks like. And let me just say, it is still obviously devastating. We're witnessing a surge coming in right now. If you keep an eye on that water right there, you can actually see the level coming up. And Gina, yep, I had the same reaction. Wow. It is absolutely devastating. The surges, when they get really strong and when they push in really quickly, like they are right now, we can actually, if we pan over really quickly, we can see the barge moving very, very quickly, trying to straighten out that dredge. I think they're trying to refuel. They've been working at this all day, all morning. I actually got an alarm at about 7:30 in the morning. I woke up to a very loud beeping noise, a siren, and a phone call saying, "Get to high ground. It is unsafe." And as a crazy local, I walked right down to the beach. So don't do that. I don't condone unsafe behavior, but here we are. And as you can see, if we pan over to the lighthouse, we can watch as the tide surges, and sometimes those rocks become completely uncovered and we can see a little bar of sand. But
do you mind saying who you are and your education? And
yeah.
Maybe how we met again?
Yeah, my name's Sophia Denton. I'm 20 years old. I'm a current student at CSUMB. I've worked for the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration as well as the United States Geological Survey. I've done a lot of work in the scientific community. I've performed water quality testing service in the Aptos Creek area. I've also done a lot of plankton monitoring for the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. I actually conducted some plankton tows right there about last year. And I just have to say that sediment transport, the way that a landscape can change underwater, can absolutely affect the way that all marine creatures interact with each other in the environment. And it is just another reminder, the tsunami is another reminder of how Mother Nature is so strong and we are totally at its mercy at all times. Absolutely wonderful. We can see that there's a bilge pump, what looks like a bilge pump right there, basically pumping out any excess water, trying to keep this large $40 million dredge afloat. Because they're actually right there in that lower part of that dredge, there are thousands of gallons of gas. And if that were to hit the bottom, potentially hit the rocks, like it almost did earlier, we would actually experience a devastating environmental disaster. Lots of gas spilling. And thankfully, these people have been hard at work. If we pan back over here, these people have been hard at work mitigating the buoys, straightening that line, creating tension. We can actually witness it being straightened out right now. It's very detrimental that we control this alleyway of the harbor. And if we actually pan right in front of the harbor as that is being straightened out, if we pan over and you see in the southern part, if we go a little south of the harbor, all of the boats sitting in front of the harbor mouth waiting to see what they can do. These people have been out here since 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning. Some people were finding this out as early as 5, and as soon as they did, oh wow, if you just heard that honk, they just dropped the anchor for the dredge to try to straighten it out. But as I was saying, these boats have been sitting out here all day waiting for what they can do next. There was a Coast Guard out here earlier. There was a Coast Guard helicopter, the boat. They were all sitting, waiting, seeing what they can do. Thankfully, Coast Guard was there to rescue a few people that were in some need. There were sirens earlier. There were some alarms. Definitely park rangers saying, "Get off the beach." And wow, some people sure didn't listen. As you can see, there are still people walking right next to the rocks, myself included. Yeah, absolutely. There's kids that were standing right on the edge of the water earlier, and
yeah, down by the boardwalk too, right there on the
yeah.
beach, the police had
If we
cell
look,
kids and families.
yeah, if we look over where that big, tall, it almost looks like a building. It's not, it's a ride. It's called the Double Shot. That is the boardwalk over there, and it was actually completely flooded earlier. As I mentioned earlier, I know that some of you are new. The Upper Harbor was flooded earlier, which is located up towards this side of the harbor behind this bridge. And lots of cars were flooded, boats on trailers in the parking lot were floating, and it is just devastating. There were also pilings from the wharf, the Santa Cruz wharf, located right over there on the west side, and there were pilings washing up on Twin Lakes Beach and are actually still floating out in the water today. And those are obviously very dangerous because they can puncture a boat without any notice. And if we look back, we can see, oh wow, the water is starting to retract again. There's a wave breaking into the harbor. And although the wave breaks into the harbor and we see obviously movement of water coming into the harbor, the tidal surge is a lot stronger than the wave action, which is really the most dangerous part of the tsunami on this side of the world, at least right now. As we can see, the tide is dropping there again, excuse me. And if we look back over at our boat, if we look at that, almost on the sand again. And I expect it to probably be on the sand within the next 5 minutes as the water continues to retract. And it is right now, let's see, it is 1:23 at Twin Lakes Harbor, Santa Cruz, California. And we are witnessing right now the barge continuing to mitigate the dredge. And just so you know, the reason that barge is there is because this dredge can actually not move by itself. This dredge does not move. And it is purely running off of their mercy and the way that they move the anchors. That is why this boat has to be there mitigating everything. A little bit about this dredge. It's actually a diesel dredge. It was $40 million, and it's really just a water pump with a big hose. So just think of a very big vacuum that essentially sucks sediment from the back of the harbor towards this way out. Oh wow. Yeah, here we go. Another large. Oh yeah, here we go. We see the dredge right here. That pipe is actually twisting counterclockwise from me. And here we see an anchor resurfacing out of the water. Oh wow. Look at this water breaking right here. The water is moving so quickly. Wow. This is fantastic. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. This is wonderful. And we can see another buoy trying to resurface right over there. There's another anchor, actually. It's not a buoy, it's an anchor for this dredge. And because those anchors are being dragged, this dredge is actually getting pulled the other way. And we are fully at nature's mercy right now in Twin Lakes Harbor, Santa Cruz, California. And there was actually another predicted surge. And what I mean by that is there was supposed to be a surge that was pretty extreme around the times of 1:15 to 1:30, and we've seen approximately, I believe, 2 of them so far. This is the second one. And as we can see, the sand is currently exposing itself. The water's retracting. The dredge is actually getting pulled the other way. And there, it is actually stuck on one of the pipes. Wow. Thankfully, those people have been very, very hard at work. And the boats out there are still waiting for the clear to be able to come back into the harbor. And if we actually look out of the harbor, I'm not sure if you can see, but right behind this jetty, and we look right where those people are standing, That is the lane over there in Santa Cruz on the west side, and the waves are approximately, what I'm seeing from over here, double overhead. They've been pretty massive. I believe there's a break between sets right now, so they do look a little small. But I have been seeing a lot of white water over there for the past 4.5 hours. Oh, wow. Look at that dredge. Look at that dredge. It's completely twisted. Wow. It is actually sunken underwater. And if we actually revisit right here, we can see this sock-like structure, this net that actually attaches to part of the dredge is completely twisted, and that happened from this dredge twisting around, getting thrown around earlier when the surges were a lot more intense. So that's one of the more major surges that we've seen. So this is really cool to get this caught on camera. We have most of the anchored part of the dredge exposed, and just so you guys know, this dredge is really important not just for the front of the harbor, but also for the back of the harbor. As it gets filled with sediment from the surges, we may have problem with access to the rear end or the upper part of the harbor. And here we still see some wave action. But wave action doesn't always indicate a surge. The surge is really tide related.
The waves, the big waves?
Yeah, the tide is more big, periodic waves that contribute to the surge, but the waves are very short term. I like to think of waves as the weather and tides as the climate. Tides set the tone for the climate, and waves are kind of the current condition of the water. That's how I try to think of it for those that might be unfamiliar with those terms. And here we see something floating actually right out of the harbor right there. We've seen some debris coming out of the harbor, some bits and pieces of dock, unfortunately some pieces of boats, lots of wood, lots of natural debris. But unfortunately, when the inorganic debris starts floating out of the harbor, we start seeing a lot of problems. And there's some other boats breaking in the harbor right now. I believe they're repositioning the front end of this dredge right now. They're repositioning that anchor. They have their cables on it. And as they reposition it, this dredge pipe should straighten out just fine. But it does take a good amount of effort from these people that have been working non-stop all morning, no break, just trying to mitigate this massive beast of a dredge. Absolutely wonderful. Wow. And just another time check right now. It's 1:29. Again, there was a predicted surge from 1:15 to 1:30. And as we can see over here, there is a slight surge coming back in. Wow, there is a pretty good surge coming in. And if we pan back towards the sand that we've been looking at, very exposed, we may be able to see slowly but surely the water rising up onto the sand. There's definitely a lot of surging activity. So just a little backstory on this tsunami. This tsunami was actually caused by geologic activity near Topanga, Micronesia, near the smaller islands in Micronesia. And on the Pacific boundary, on the Japan side, there was an earthquake, a pretty large earthquake that triggered a chain of volcanoes near near that island. And actually, if you look it up, you'll be able to see it from space. So yeah, this is pretty devastating. This is all what happens. We all share one ocean, and when we see drastic environmental disasters in one area, we have to remember to be prepared to experience it in another. And that is exactly what we're experiencing right now. I have seen, if you can actually look over right about there, there's a green boat, a small green boat, and that's been my indicator boat besides the sailboat. And I've seen that green boat go under about 4 different times. Yeah, and it's still kicking. It's still tied to that dock. I don't know how. Thankfully, it's still there. But as we can see, if we pan back over to the dredge, our big problem, they are still straightening out the dredge, trying to mitigate that turn in the pipe. We still are, I'd say, experiencing a pretty neutral tide right now. I haven't seen a surge quite yet, but it did move out very quickly. However, I've seen about a 10-minute difference between, as much as a 10-minute difference between a surge going out and a surge coming in. So it may be a few minutes before we see a massive surge move into the harbor and hopefully not harm any boats, any people, any cars like it did earlier. And I now that there's some new people here, I guess I'll reintroduce myself to the camera. My name is Sophia Denton. I'm 20 years old. I'm a student at CSUMB. I've worked for the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration as well as the U.S. Geological Survey. I've done some plankton tows. I've done a lot of seismic activity monitoring. I've done some water quality testing for Aptos Creek, and I'm currently on a mission to bring awareness to water quality in the Santa Cruz and Monterey greater area. And here we are with the dredge that we're trying to straighten out from this devastating tsunami. It is 1:33. And we have yeah, thank you.
Find that. Oh, you got 14 people watching and listening to what you're saying?
Watching, yeah.
Cool.
It's a great day to be a person here, safe. I'm thankful that we're not in Australia right now. I'm thankful we're not in New Zealand.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
There's a lot worse there.
Absolutely. It's devastating. Wow. If you actually look in the news right now, you can see a lot of flooding. And in the smaller islands of Micronesia, most of them are unfortunately flooded. And a lot of people are unfortunately either stranded at sea or who knows. So my condolences go out to their families.
Yeah, thanks for giving us that information.
Yeah. This is what I want to say, a beautiful day for us here, but in other places not so much. And as we can see right now, we're experiencing a tidal surge, moving a little slowly, a little more slowly than the other ones I've seen, but it's still quick.
Like you can see the seagulls going backwards.
Yeah. You can actually use them for a timing reference. Yeah, you can see how fast the water's moving. I like to use a seagull. There's one right over there moving pretty quick. And yeah, wow, you can see that sand, if we just keep it right here for a second, getting covered up by that water. And if we pan back over just a little bit to our boat that we've been focusing on, this guy, he's actually in the water again. So, yay. I feel bad for whoever's boat that is.
So the boats out here, do you think they're staying out there for 2 reasons? One is because
absolutely
for safety.
Yeah.
Out there. The other reason is you think that they still need to dredge this area before.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely enough surging activity to cause a lot of sediment to actually build up outside of the harbor. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if everybody has heard, but there was a whirlpool actually that appeared right outside of this jetty, about, I'd say 200, 300 feet in front of the jetty. There was a massive whirlpool, and that whirlpool moved a lot of sand. And as that happened, the dredge was also tangled up, and it basically was a domino effect that allowed these boats to not only be stuck out there from the surge, but also from the sediment activity. So if we actually pan back out in the water, we can still see a good number, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, and if we look over 5, there's a lot of other boats that I've seen a lot further out. There's some actually more on the west side that have moved completely away from the harbor mouth. There's a sailboat I'm witnessing over on the west side. And
so those whirlpools you've seen in multiple places. You saw it out here, and you saw it here this morning.
I've seen a whirlpool right out in front of the harbor mouth right there. I've also seen one a little south of the harbor mouth, right in front of what we call the Pink House, which is another jetty located approximately right there. And I saw a lot of water being sucked out not only from the southern part of the beach, but also from the harbor. And that water met right in the middle and became a massive whirlpool. And that was about 6 hours ago, 5 hours ago. And it is still continuing to affect the harbor. And of course the dredge. And as they get clearance from the Coast Guard, as they get clearance from Harbor Patrol, I'm sure these boats will be able to move in. However, I did get notice from Harbor Patrol, from radio chatter, that this may last, these surges may last for another 6 hours. So this is a pretty devastating effect, even though we are 1,300 miles.
I know you said waves are like weather and not the climate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's some, you see those in there?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mentioned that one earlier. So someone asked, is this a tsunami or a tidal surge? This is a tidal surge caused by a tsunami. Tsunamis can occur in a pattern that is like a wave. Lots of people see tidal waves and they think, oh, tidal wave, tsunami. But actually, one of the more devastating and indicators of a tsunami is the tidal surge. It is always said that when you are walking on a beach, if you see the tide drop drastically, to please get away from the water, move to higher ground. And the tidal surge is the first indication to either a tidal wave or a full-on tsunami. And sometimes tidal waves look like surges. So in 2011, we witnessed in Japan that the tsunami that occurred had a pretty large tidal wave, but it was followed by a massive tidal surge even after the wave occurred. And that's where a lot of the damage can be done. Initially, of course, the wave is very dangerous, but the surge can break docks. It can move into lowland areas such as, in this case, the West Side, Beach Street, Capitola, lower areas like Rio Del Mar, Aptos. We call that platform beach beer can.
Can you explain how the water got pushed back to the back of the
Absolutely.
harbor and what you saw?
Yeah, so about, I would say at 8:30 in the morning, we had a tidal surge come in after the water had already previously surged outward and made that whirlpool. There was almost a neutral, what I call a neutral surge, for about a minute and a half. There was no water movement at all, but there was almost all of the water out of the harbor. And the water that was left was just barely keeping those boats afloat. And as this water came back in, surged back in, moved all the way to the upper harbor, which we can see back if I pan over this way behind the bridge, the surge actually pushed up what we call the H dock located on this side and caused some pretty devastating damage to one sailboat. Thankfully, not a lot of other boats were damaged. However, there were boats in the upper parking lot in the upper harbor that were on trailers that were actually floating. There was also a car that was underwater. There was a truck and a Mini Cooper underwater, which I have never even seen in the 2011 tsunami from Japan. So it's really interesting and also obviously devastating how all of this water can absolutely devastate infrastructure, homes. I mean, people live on these boats. People have their lives on these boats, and I actually saw people that live on these boats have to evacuate earlier. And when the boat is your home, where do you go? And that's the question that they had to answer for themselves today. It's a harsh and horrible reality, but this is what we have to deal with. Someone said, "Thank you for your brilliant answer. Who are you?" Heidi. Hi, Heidi. Hi, Rachel from Sydney, Australia. Wow. And let me just, sending love. Let me see. Sending love from Southern Maine. Wow. In Wabanaki Territory in the northeast of the United States. Hi, Heidi. Just to reintroduce myself, since you are wondering what my background is, my name is Sophia Denton. I actually have graduated from Cabrillo College. I have my associate's degree in general science, emphasis in environmental science. I also have my associates in liberal arts and sciences. I'm currently attending CSU in B. That's CSU Monterey Bay, just right across the bay. I'm studying marine science, and my specialty is plankton and other microscopic creatures, but I also have studied oceanography. I've worked for NOAA, which is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. I've also worked for the U.S. Geological Survey. I've done some seismic activity monitoring and beach sand monitoring in the greater Monterey Bay area. And I've also done some monitoring for Aptos Creek water quality. And right now I'm actually currently on my mission to actually promote the importance of water quality. It is really important to know what the pollutants are in our water, how they can affect us. And that's just a little background on me. I'm sorry if I'm a little distracted. I'm still observing all of my surroundings, and there is a lot to take in currently with this tsunami. This is located in Twin Lakes Harbor, Santa Cruz, California. Any wildlife or people hurt? Heidi, unfortunately, yes. There were 2 people, unfortunately, one near the San Lorenzo River mouth, right over that way, that were sucked out to sea. Thankfully, I believe the lifeguard rescued them on a jet ski. That was about 2 hours ago, and about an hour before that, so 3 hours ago, there was somebody swept up in Capitola, and I also witnessed the jet ski rescue that person. So thankfully, we have a great team that we're working with here today. Obviously, great first responders. Everybody was here earlier, sheriffs, police, firemen, you name it, they were here. So I just love to thank the community for keeping a lookout. We really do care about each other in Santa Cruz. Thank you. Hi Patrick, I'm a beach lover growing up in the Monterey area, currently in Santa Barbara, observing the beaches here. Well, stay safe, Patrick. I'm glad that I'm able to show you what's going on here right now. Currently, we have a tidal surge. However, everything's looking pretty neutral right now. However, since that sand is exposed, we may experience a surge inward very, very soon. And here we have a low foam battery, so I'm gonna have to turn it over to the wonderful person that let me have control of this live. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I may be back reporting more soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is super fun.
Yeah, thanks.
Love
Appreciate it. Yeah, let me turn up the brightness. Yeah, I went down to 5%, so just lost the brightness. But yeah, thank you for all that information. That was okay.
I introduced myself to you. Oh wow, you can see double overhead over out in the lane right now.
Yeah, we were just checking that out with. Would you like to check this out real quick? Yeah, it's so cool. That thing works really good. There's an adjustment right here on the side. Yeah, that's really cool.
That's like the reef out there. That's like 4 reef.
Hello everyone. I'm going to go ahead and try to plug in my phone to my power pack. Thanks for watching this informative broadcast.
There are people from all over the world.
Let's see.
Watching.
Yeah?
From Australia, from Sydney, there's someone from Maine.
On this?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. They were telling you?
Yeah.
In the comments?
Saying hi from here.
Right on, cool.
Another 6 hours.
Alright, phone's plugged in. Saved it. we're starting to see the water recede again right in this area. The embankment is now exposed. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks again. All right, so that woman gave us a really good explanatory report. That's what she studies in school. Let me go ahead and pan the video. Camera this direction. I'm going to use this device to show you what's going on over here. We still have boats up there. It's the lighthouse, of course. Yeah, I have seen some of those. Yeah. Yeah, I think so, because you literally can take a telescope and do that, and I just used this binocular or monocular with this one, so they might not be as good. They might be only like 5 times or 10 times, but yeah, they work. Because I've had a telescope, and yes, I've been able to do that with the telescope.
Yeah, that it shows you like seeing something like in detail like a mile away.
Yeah. So it was maybe 5 to 7 years ago I had a telescope that was for looking at the moon, and I was able, maybe 10 years ago, and I was able to line the lens on my camera, on my phone, up to it and see the moon really well. So yeah, that works. Answering someone's question. So I'm going to go ahead and show the embankment again is exposed right in this area. So we did just see some water receding again, and
so look out to the ocean.
this is another small surge. The water just receded a few minutes ago.
How was the boat? That's some places where we got our crab.
the embankment that was just exposed over in that area. It's now covered in water. About an hour ago, this boat right here was completely on the sand. It was all the way dropped because the receding water levels were so low that it went all the way down on the sand. I'm gonna likely end this video broadcast shortly. We are seeing smaller surges. I have documented this situation during this period of time throughout the last few hours rather well. We had a wonderful guest speaker that studies marine biology that gave a very intelligent and thought-provoking report regarding the current situation here and tsunamis in general. Going to end this feed and proceed to document some stories elsewhere and maybe go get some coffee. I was going to end this video feed, but I'm just checking out. So as I line up this right here, the camera is still. You see that the water is receding again, and it's pulling that around. And you could also see the embankment level in this area is once again low. So the water is receding once again.
See you later, bro.
Yeah,
Good day.
yeah, thank you.
Bye, come together.
Yeah, thanks. Nice talking with you. Did you notice the water was just receding again?
Yeah.
You see how it's low, but it's not going to be as exciting as,
Yeah, just
you know,
has to be
40.
a little quicker and a little.
Yeah, oh, just
Yeah, so.
exactly, a little quicker and less intense, yeah. Good observation, so, yeah.
My wife bring her down to
Yeah, cool. Yeah, have a good ride.
See you later.
Ride safe and all that. See ya.
Hey, when is your thing to watch here?
Yeah, this is being broadcast through Facebook Live, just when it's like minor stuff. But whenever I get major stuff, like I've made national news hundreds of times on more networks than I can count, and like a lot of other countries and stuff. But if you want to watch like this, or if you're curious about other things, it's on Facebook. I'm not sure if you're on Facebook. You can get a picture of this if you want.
I don't have my phone on me. My battery was almost dead.
Yeah, you just spell my first name a little different.
Alex.
Yeah, so I generally cover a lot of like major stories. This is major, but right here is not that major. So, but yeah, I've been broadcasting through Facebook Live and just getting this information out, I guess mostly to my local friends. So that, yeah, I've lived here for 32 years. So So beautiful place to live and grow up. Yeah.
I lived there back in the 70s.
Yeah, cool.
And my daughter went to school there.
Yeah, such an amazing place. So fortunate. A lot nicer than, of course, around the world, but even a lot nicer than a lot of places in California. Yeah, it is. Cool. So yeah, that's it. Alex Londo.
Alex Sloan.
All right. Have a good day. So again, the water is receding. You can see, now you can see the sand embankment over in this area. At one time, approximately an hour ago, this boat was completely on the sand in that area. So the water was just receding. It looks like that may have stopped, and momentarily we should see another surge come in. But of course, it's not going to be as major as this morning. I know it doesn't seem like much, but the water just receded. That embankment was completely covered up. Yeah, it just receded, and it's coming back in now.
So are they still having surges?
Oh, huge, yeah. They're still pretty big. Yeah, like an hour ago, that boat over there, the small one, was all the way on the sand.
You've got to be kidding
Yeah,
me.
just 1 hour ago. So they're like not as severe now, and they're happening quicker. But that embankment over there still gets completely covered up and then uncovered, and this stuff's still twisting around. Yeah, it's gonna happen over the next 5 or 6 hours.
Really?
Yeah, so again, not as major, but it is, yeah, it's still happening.
Yeah, I thought it would be like one big surge and that was it.
No, that was like the one 10 years ago, where it was more of one big surge. And
That big
this one's been,
Malaysia.
yeah, but that one affected here pretty bad.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then that's when it came in.
That's right over here, yeah.
So I think that sand may cover up in a few minutes because now the water is not going out. So it's rising again.
No kidding. Oh my God. That is just
In real time.
climate emergency. I take it you work for the climate department?
No, not just raising awareness of the climate emergency
Oh,
globally.
awesome.
Yeah.
Right on.
Just, it always seems like I'm showing it off. It's just right there. I've had it for a while. The climate emergency tattoo.
So do you believe that with the Malaysia earthquake that it actually changed our climate with the planet tilting?
In Malaysia, the one 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't study that much. I didn't
Yeah.
study that.
I really
was
believe-
working.
That's why I noticed the climate changing after
Okay.
that earthquake. Because
Interesting.
our planet,
Mhm.
it moved a little bit, but I really believe that it caused the climate
It tilted the axis.
Uh-huh. Just an FYI.
Yeah, thank you. So again, we just saw the water recede approximately 5 minutes ago, and now we have some slight waves coming in. See a lot of onlookers, spectators, people checking out what's going on. See some strange activity going on in here.
Oh.
Some people walking up along the walkway up there, and oh, so see, the water receded again.
Oh my
So now it's even lower. That just happened fast. So it went out, came back.
Look,
Yeah.
it's just like pulling out.
my God.
It's pulling back.
Yeah, so the water is going back out towards the ocean.
Seeing something here. It's gonna come right. Look at it. It's just pulling out.
And yeah, you can see how this is twisting up
Yeah.
a little bit. Do you see how this is all twisted from this morning? That wasn't like that. The girl that was here earlier saw that happen. And
No
spin.
way.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, the water.
Talking about this, how this is all twisted up right here and spiraled. So again, the water is receding. You can see the water going that direction back out to the ocean. You can see that in this area. Earlier today, about an hour ago, this boat was all the way on the sand right here. You can see the sand near that boat. So yeah, the water is still going out.
I've never
If you are just watching this video, we do see the current drastically going out in this area of the harbor, the entrance of the harbor. You can see all the water in this area going that direction towards the ocean, and we will see a surge at some point. Wonder if I can show you this for the 8 people watching. Check this out. This is unusual for Santa Cruz, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull this back. Let's see if I can do this for you. So over by Steamer's Lane, we have a lot of waves over there, huge waves that are very long. Again, this is over near Steamer's Lane, near the lighthouse on the west side of Santa Cruz, where the monoscope is currently directed. Not really with anyone, but I'm international, freelance photojournalist.
I guess you're expecting something important.
Yeah, there's been a tsunami throughout the day.
Well, has there been actual waves coming in?
Yeah, so that boat was on the sand embankment recently, and this, yeah, the waves continue, the whole tide continues to go back and forth. So right now,
I didn't know there was any. Actually, I was just down in Capitola.
it is happening right now. Do you see all the water coming in?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, it's been doing that for the last few hours.
Interesting. Do you think it would have any effect?
No, yeah, it's still happening. It twisted this up earlier today.
Oh, did
Right
it
here?
floods the dredge?
Yeah, and then the dredge is moving right now. It's been causing, you know, nothing major, but
The water's just moving it.
yeah.
The water's a little heavier than everything else.
You can see how this is twisted up right here, and it twisted from earlier. They keep anchoring it, it keeps ripping them out. They keep anchoring it, it keeps ripping it out. They've been doing that for 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Were you
Yeah.
here for the first one?
No, I slept in. I was,
That was 1 foot. How
yeah.
high did it get?
This was approximated around. I wasn't here for this morning either. Yeah. But there was a girl that was doing a report through my phone earlier today, and she was in one of these houses, and then the Coast Guard was telling everybody to get off the beach. She came down here, she saw the whole thing, she's talking about the big rip currents,
Yeah.
how this twisted up right here. See how that's
Oh,
all
yeah,
twisted
yeah.
up? She saw that happen. And about an hour ago when we were here, do you see that boat over there to the left? That was completely on the sand, just like an hour ago.
Oh,
Boat to the left.
just
Yeah, it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was that
'Cause
low
it's
in
been
this
low,
area.
huh?
Yeah. So we've been seeing some activity, nothing major, but
Yeah.
I'm just broadcasting through Facebook Live. If it was major, I'd be
Yeah.
flying my drone and getting B-roll for the news stations. So this is not as exciting or as important as other ways that I can document it.
The Japan tsunami
Right.
came through as only 1 foot of water.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't here for that, but I did live here. And unfortunately, I like stayed up until 5, 6 in the morning somewhere, and I was getting ready to come down to it. I just got too tired and I fell asleep. I regretted it. I was like, no. But you know, I make a lot of stories. I miss some stories and just gotta accept it. Can't cover everything all the time. But yeah, that was.
I watched videos of it. I didn't come. I was over the hill.
Yeah, but that happened here earlier today up the harbor. There was boats in the water and more damage and stuff. Cars in the water. There was a lot of
cars got flooded.
Yeah. So because it pushed all the water towards the back end of the harbor.
And they're all in there.
Yeah. And then there were some other areas that were flooded.
All the boats just went up.
Yeah.
They're tied to the dock.
Right. Exactly.
The docks will go up.
Yeah.
Because they're
You can see how high the water was in some of the images that they have on Cowles and the boardwalk and how close it came in. Yeah, but this location, I can't see any water line to reference. Right, back at 5% battery. I did mention that I'm going to end this video broadcast shortly. Let's plug in my phone. So we did just see another surge. Nothing major, but we just saw another surge a second ago.
cool.
Where all the water went out, and then this dredge just twisted around, and now the water just came back in and it straightened back out. And you can see this is all twisted from earlier today. So just a few minutes ago, this portion was facing like the other direction.
Right.
So there's still some activity, nothing major. You could use it as a reference kind of on the other side, that embankment.
Right.
Sometimes that embankment's completely covered up, sometimes it's exposed a lot. And whenever it starts lowering, that's when the water is going out. So it's still occurring and has been over the last few hours. About like an hour ago, hour and 15 minutes ago, that small boat over there on the left was completely on the sand. Just like an hour ago. So that's when all the water went out. And that was the most activity that I saw because I got here and then that started happening. But it's subsided since then. So there's still like some activity, it's just not...
So you think that we've reached the peak of it then? You think we've reached the peak of it, or you expect there to be more today?
Okay, so there was the peak around 8:30, but then there was a marine biologist here said that there was another peak going to happen around like 1:15, and it did happen like right around 1:15. We saw some of those go out and come back, so it was like a secondary peak, you know, not like the main one. There might have been other secondary peaks in between 8:30 and that 1:15, but yeah, I guess I didn't ask her if there was any in between, but when I was here, I do know about the one at 8:30 and then the one that she mentioned, and it was like right on time, like right around 1:10, we saw the water starting to go out. So it was so interesting wherever she got that information. You see that embankment? It wasn't exposed a few minutes ago when you guys first came here. Oh, yeah. And see how this is now down lower?
It is getting lower.
Yeah. Oh, and
It's pulling, look, it's pulling it back.
So it's still happening.
Oh, wow, this is
Yeah,
fascinating.
you guys want to stick me out for a little bit?
Yeah, I want to see something.
So just chill about rock.
Okay, I'm going to end this video because this has gotten really boring. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you're safe wherever you're at. Hope you have a good day.